In the peaceful town of Fairbanks, Laura and Peter were known as the perfect couple. They had been together since high school, and everyone admired their love story. After years of building their careers, they decided it was finally time to start a family. Laura's pregnancy brought them immense joy. They spent months preparing for their baby, decorating the nursery, and imagining their future as parents. When their daughter Hailey was born, their hearts were filled with happiness. The hospital room was filled with warmth and love as they held their tiny newborn daughter for the first time. Hailey's arrival felt like the final piece of their perfect life. They couldn't have been more excited about the future. But as the weeks went by, Peter began to notice something that made him uneasy. Hailey's skin tone was darker than both his and Laura's. At first, Peter tried to dismiss it, thinking it was just one of those unique traits that made Hailey special. He loved his daughter deeply, and he didn't want anything to spoil the joy of being a new father. However, as Hailey grew, the differences in her appearance became more pronounced. Peter couldn't help but notice them. The thoughts started to bother him more and more, and soon he couldn't get them out of his mind. He tried talking to a few close friends, hoping they could ease his worries. They assured him that it was normal for children to inherit different traits from extended family members. But despite their reassurances, the doubts wouldn't go away. These doubts began to affect Peter's mood. He became quieter, more withdrawn, and it started to create a distance between him and Laura. He wanted to enjoy being a father, but the fear that something wasn't right kept creeping into his mind. It overshadowed the happiness he should have been feeling. Finally, unable to bear the uncertainty any longer, Peter made a difficult decision. He decided to take a DNA test. He knew this choice could change everything, but he felt he had no other option if he was ever going to find peace of mind. The decision weighed heavily on his heart, knowing that the results could either confirm his worst fears or put them to rest once and for all. The suspense of what the DNA test might reveal loomed over Peter, and the life he had once known began to feel like it was slipping away. What will the results reveal? Will Peter's fears come true, or will he find the peace he's looking for? The story continues with the results that will change everything. To find out what happens next, make sure to stay tuned and see how this story unfolds. The day the DNA test results arrived, Peter felt a knot in his stomach. He had been anxious, hoping that the test would confirm that Hailey was his daughter and put all of his doubts to rest. But when he opened the envelope and read the results, his worst fears came true. The test confirmed that he was not Hailey's biological father. The news hit Peter like a ton of bricks. He felt like the ground had been pulled out from under him. All the trust and love he had built with Laura over the years suddenly felt like it was crumbling. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. How could this be true? He felt betrayed and devastated. That evening, Peter knew he had to confront Laura. His emotions were all over the place: anger, hurt, confusion, and he couldn't hold them back. When he walked into the house, the tension was thick in the air. Laura could sense that something was wrong. Peter's voice trembled with anger and pain as he revealed the DNA test results to her. "Laura," he said, his voice shaking, "Hailey, she's not my daughter." Laura's face went pale. She had been dreading this moment, hoping that the truth would never come out. But now she could see that her secret was exposed. Tears began to stream down her face as she realized there was no way to hide it anymore. With her voice breaking, Laura confessed the truth. "Peter, I'm so sorry," she said, her tears flowing freely. "I had an affair, and Hailey is the result of that relationship. It was a mistake. Something I regret every single day. I thought I could bury the truth and protect you from the pain, but I was wrong. I'm so sorry." Peter felt as if a knife had been plunged into his heart. The betrayal was too much for him to handle. The life they had built together, the trust they had shared, all seemed tainted by Laura's deceit. He struggled to process the enormity of what she had done. The love he once felt for her now seemed distant and unreachable. Unable to bear the pain, Peter decided he needed to leave. He couldn't stay in the house where everything reminded him of the betrayal. He needed time to think, to process his feelings, and to figure out what to do next. The decision wasn't easy, but he felt he had no other choice. Peter packed a bag, his mind swirling with emotions. He took one last look at the house, at the life he was leaving behind, and then walked out the door. As he left, his heart was heavy with sadness and confusion. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew he couldn't stay. While Peter was away, trying to sort through the heartbreak and confusion, something terrible happened. One rainy evening, as he was driving on a lonely road, Peter lost control of his car. The car skidded on the wet pavement, spinning out of control before crashing into a tree. The impact was severe, and Peter was critically injured. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors fought to save his life. As Peter lay unconscious in the hospital, the doctors ran several tests to assess his condition. During these tests, they discovered something surprising. Peter had a rare genetic marker that suggested he had African ancestry. When Peter finally regained consciousness, he was weak and disoriented. The doctors explained everything to him, including the genetic marker they had found. They told him that this marker could explain why Hailey's skin tone was darker than his and Laura's. It was possible, they said, that the initial DNA test was wrong, and that Hailey might actually be his biological daughter after all. Peter was stunned. The news hit him like a tidal wave, and he struggled to comprehend what it all meant. Could it be that the doubts that had torn his life apart were based on a misunderstanding? The thought of it made Peter's heart ache. He began to realize that he might have been wrong to doubt Laura and to walk away from his family. The guilt over how he had treated Laura and Hailey started to weigh heavily on him. As Peter lay in his hospital bed, the truth began to sink in. He knew he had to go back home and find out what was really going on. This time, he wasn't driven by anger or suspicion, but by a deep need to understand the full truth. He realized that the situation was more complicated than he had ever imagined and that he may have been too quick to judge. With this new information, Peter knew he needed to approach Laura with humility and an open heart. He had hurt her deeply by leaving, and now he had to make things right, no matter how difficult it might be. The suspense builds as Peter prepares to return home and confront the truth. Will he find the answers he's looking for, or will the situation be even more complex than he thought? Keep watching. After spending weeks in the hospital, Peter was finally released. The accident had changed him, not just physically, but emotionally. He knew he had to return home and face the situation he had left behind. With a heavy heart but a clear mind, he made his way back to the house he had once shared with Laura and Hailey. When Peter walked through the door, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Laura and Hailey were there, and although Peter could see the hurt in Laura's eyes, he also saw a glimmer of hope. Peter took a deep breath and began to explain everything. He told Laura about the accident, the hospital, and the shocking discovery the doctors had made about his genetic marker. He explained how this marker could mean that Hailey was, in fact, his biological daughter. Laura was stunned by what Peter told her. The possibility that Hailey could actually be Peter's daughter turned everything upside down. The couple realized that they needed to know the truth, so they decided to take a second DNA test to confirm the new information. The waiting period for the results was filled with a mix of anxiety and cautious hope. During this time, Peter and Laura began to talk openly with each other. They talked about their feelings, their mistakes, and the pain they had both been through. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. For the first time in a long while, they were honest with each other, and that honesty began to slowly rebuild the trust that had been shattered. When the second DNA test results finally arrived, they confirmed what the doctors had suspected. Hailey was indeed Peter's biological daughter. The first test had been flawed because of Peter's rare genetic marker, which had caused all the confusion. The relief that washed over both of them was overwhelming, but it was clear that the emotional damage would take time to heal. Peter and Laura knew they had to rebuild their relationship from the ground up. The process was slow and painful. They both struggled with the feelings of betrayal and misunderstanding that had nearly torn them apart. But they were determined to make it work. They sought counseling to help them handle their emotions and to learn how to communicate better with each other. They committed to being honest and open, no matter how difficult it might be. Meanwhile, Peter also worked hard to reconnect with Hailey. He realized how much he had missed her during his time away, and how much she had missed him. The bond between father and daughter began to heal as Peter poured all his love into being the father she deserved. He spent time with her, played with her, and showed her every day how much he cared. Slowly, the relationship began to flourish once more. As time went on, Peter and Laura found a new rhythm in their relationship. The wounds from their past hadn't disappeared, but they had learned how to move with compassion and understanding. They knew that the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but they were committed to walking it together side by side. Peter took an active role in raising Hailey, throwing himself into fatherhood with a renewed sense of purpose. The doubts that had once haunted him were gone, replaced by a deep pride and love for his daughter. Every day he found new joy in watching her grow, in sharing little moments with her, and in being the father she needed. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day, and it became clear to Peter that his love for Hailey was unshakable. Laura, too, found peace in their renewed commitment to each other and their family. She was grateful for the second chance they had been given, knowing that not everyone gets the opportunity to rebuild after such a difficult time. The love she felt for Peter was deeper now, tempered by the struggles they had faced and the mistakes they had made. Together, they were determined to create a better future for themselves and for Hailey. The story concludes with a quiet moment in the backyard of their home. Peter and Laura sit together on the porch, watching as Hailey plays in the yard. The sun is setting, casting a warm golden light over everything. As they sit there, hand in hand, they reflect on the journey they've been through, the pain, the mistakes, and the strength they found to keep moving forward. They know that they are not the same couple they once were. They have been changed by their experiences, by the challenges they faced, and by the love that has carried them through it all. But in many ways, they feel that they are stronger now, more resilient, and more connected than ever before. As they watch Hailey laugh and run through the grass, Peter and Laura feel a sense of peace and hope for the future. They have come through the storm, and while the scars remain, they have emerged as a stronger, more united family. Their story is an evidence to the power of forgiveness, the importance of truth, and the unbreakable bonds of love. The future is still unknown, but wherever it holds, Peter and Laura know that they will face it together, with love and with the strength they gained from their journey. This is just the beginning of their new life, a life filled with hope, love, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories.